everyone. I'd like to share a story about Brittany Maynard, who is a 29-year-old woman who was diagnosed with a brain cancer and only 6 months to live. She felt like she had no options in her home state of California, so she moved to Oregon, which was only one of 5 states at the time who had a physician-assisted death law. Brittany felt like she should have the right to choose how she wanted to end her life and when. Brittany died in November of 2014 in Oregon, surrounded by family and friends, the way she wanted to. She spent the last few weeks of her life advocating for physician-assisted suicide to become legal. California finally passed its physician-assisted death law in June of 2016, which was about 18 months after Brittany died. I think this is important because it affects the end-of-life care for terminally ill patients, and it could affect you or a family member in the future. As per the Hastings Center bioethics briefings, the definition is physician-assisted death, PAD, which is also referred to as PAS, which is physician-assisted suicide, refers to the practice where physicians provide a potentially legal medication to a terminally ill, suffering patient at his own request that he can take or not at the time of his own choosing to end his life. The problem is that people are suffering, and this is legal in only 9 states. That means that leaves patients from other places to have to leave their homes and travel out of state. And it also means that there's 41 states where people are suffering in pain and have no choices. Linda Van Zant was a writer for the Los Angeles Times, and she shared a story about her aunt who was diagnosed in March of 2016 with ALS, which is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. She was told that she would never get better and the pain would continue to get worse each day until she died of either suffocation or she would starve to death because the muscles in her neck would collapse. By April, she was in severe pain and tried to commit suicide, but she wasn't able to because she wasn't strong enough. By June, California finally passed its death with dignity law, but it takes quite some time to be approved. It wasn't until July when she received her medication that could help her and stop her pain and suffering. Linda Van Zant stated that as soon as it was over, I felt overwhelming relief for her and deep respect. Her determined pursuit of death on her own terms makes her the bravest person I've ever known. Another problem is that doctors believe we have great palliative care for patients. It's available to all patients. The goal is to relieve symptoms. However, it doesn't always relieve the symptoms, and people are still suffering and in pain. There's many struggles of trying to legalize physician-assisted suicide laws because many believe it's inhumane. They believe killing someone, no matter what circumstances, is unethical and inhumane. Many health providers still oppose it because they feel they signed their oath that they're there to save people, not to end their lives. There's also a possibility of patient coercion, which they feel that patients may ask for this death with dignity, but really are doing it because they feel that they're causing their family emotional stress, physical stress, and financial stress, and they're really not doing it for the right reasons. And finally, the physician virtues and trying to understand them. Edmund Pellegrino is a professor of medicine and medical ethics, and he stated some of the virtues entailed by the profession or commitment of the physician and ends which actualize that commitment are sorry. The purpose of physician-patient relationship is to heal and always to benefit the patient. PAS does not always benefit the patient because it ends their life. PAS is also referred to as to die with dignity. Brittany Maynard said, "I've had the medication for weeks. I am not suicidal. If I were, I would have consumed the medication long ago. I do not want to die, but I am dying, and I want to die on my own terms. I would not tell anyone else that he or she should choose death with dignity. My question is, who has the right to tell me that I don't deserve this choice, that I deserve to suffer for weeks or months in tremendous amounts of physical and emotional pain? Why should anyone have the right to make that choice for me? Having this choice at the end of my life has become incredibly important. It has given me a sense of peace during a tumultuous time that otherwise would be dominated by fear, uncertainty, and pain." Everyone is not eligible for PAS. You must be over 18. You have to be deemed mentally competent. And you have to have 2 physicians that must diagnose you with the same diagnosis and with 6 or less months to live. There's many that oppose legalizing PAS. The medical community opposes because of the Hippocratic Oath that they took. However, there are 28 countries that do have physician-assisted suicide laws. To mention a few are the Netherlands, Germany, and Switzerland. Dr. Chechi is a family doctor who stated, although the oath says, "Do no harm," allowing prolonged suffering and doing more harm is doing more harm by not giving peace. Many oppose because they believe no matter what, this is still murder, and many oppose because they feel that the terminally ill patients will choose this for the wrong reasons. I hope that you learned a lot about physician-assisted suicide today, and I hope you realize how important it is to legalize this in all 50 states. Please remember, Brittany Maynard had to uproot herself and her family and move to another state in the under the absolute worst circumstances, just so she can make her own end-of-life choices and die with dignity. And remember Linda Van Sant's aunt, who had to suffer for an additional 3 months because the law was not passed until the end of her life. And so she, even though she got to have the choice and she received the medication, she should have been able to have it months before and end her suffering. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
If your state doesn't have a death with dignity law, can you just go across the border to the next state and do it?
You can, but you need to have residency, so you need to actually move there, because many states will ask you for proof of residence.